Silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Ms. Domingo, please call the roll.
Councilmember Clark. Here. Reed. Here. Smith. Here. Lawler.
Here.
Spicer. Williamson.
Here.
And Mayor Atchison.
Here. Okay. So the first item is approval of the agenda, and may I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councilwoman Lawler.
Yes, I just, let me get my notes out here. For number A, it says Recreation Advisory Committee, but
Right.
the actual resolution says, let me get to it. Recreation Advisory Commission, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure what we're doing here.
We are doing the commission.
Commission?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's a correction. Are there any other, well, may I have a motion to approve the agenda, and then we'll ask if there are changes. Councilman Williamson?
Okay, are we approving the amendment as agenda, agenda as amended?
And I'm getting a motion to approve the agenda, second, and then we'll see if anybody has changes.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, is there support? Okay, so one change that Councilwoman Lawler identified was to change the word from committee to commission. The other, on the agenda, the other issue I have is to remove items Roman numeral 11I, which are two of the appointments, which deals with the DDA Citizens Advisory Board. There is a question whether or not those need to be appointed and confirmed by city council, and I'd like to give the city attorney a reasonable amount of time to look at that and determine whether or not that is required. If it's not required, it makes it administratively easier, quicker, and it opens participation up to more residents within the downtown district. We already have a few that cannot participate because of tax issues, et cetera. And this is really for the residents to provide feedback on things that affect their quality of life and whatnot. So there are two corrections. Are there other corrections, changes, or additions to the agenda? Okay. So the modification to the agenda would be to change item 11A to commission, and then to remove two of these appointments until we have a definitive answer whether or not it's required to have them confirmed. I move that we amend the agenda in that fashion.
So moved. Support.
Okay. All right, so we're going to, all those in favor of approving the agenda as modified, say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved as modified. All right. Okay, public comments. If you have public comments, please come forward. Please state your name and address, 3 minutes, and request everyone to respect the speaker.
Good evening, Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. Just, I guess, a comment on, more of a technical comment on items A and B. So, and hopefully sometime the attorney Harkness can provide some insight on this. So my understanding is the charter provides for the creation of citizens advisory committees, and it speaks to that like in two sections. One where it says it has the power to do it, and then the other section, I'm trying to pull up the sections here, but the other section says that basically they're only supposed to be in existence for 2 years, and then the council can extend them for another year if needed. And that second part speaks to where it says, you know, if it's not they're to be created in an instance in which another board is not carrying out an investigation on a particular topic to a department or an issue. So the question I have is where, and this is just kind of it's a public benefit kind of question, but where in the charter or state law can cities create commissions, committees, boards, or authorities? Because I know, like with the Planning Commission, the DDA, EDC, what's the other one? I'm forgetting the other one. But those are state laws, and then we implement them. And I know in the ordinances we have like a human relations or human rights commission, and I know there's the housing commission, but again, that's established by statute by the state, and the city's allowed to do that. So I'm curious about, and then there are differences I know between an advisory committee and the other boards. The other boards are have to follow Open Meetings Act and those kinds of things. The Citizens Advisory Committees don't. So I'm just curious about kind of two questions. What's the difference between our committees, boards, commissions, and authorities? And then where in either the charter or state statute do we have the authority to create like a standalone board? Because it seems to me, I'll say this and kind of be quiet, is if it seems like there's like a built-in loophole around a Citizens Advisory Committee if we can continue to create boards for particular issues. You would never really need a Citizens Advisory Committee, or the drafters or the people who drafted the charter, they wouldn't put that stipulation in there if it was so easy to get around it by just creating a board. So that's something hopefully we can get some more information on. Thank you.
Are there further public comments this evening?
Sonia Brown, 713 Orchard Drive. I just want to support and echo what former Mayor Brown commented on agenda items A and B. A specifically, the agenda reads committee, the ordinance reads commission. I read through the ordinance, and it reads like this is potentially a standing board and not an advisory committee. So it's really ambiguous, and I'm hoping that council will ask questions to get understanding of what this committee or commission or whatever it is being proposed, what it's doing. Another thing that stuck out to me in the ordinance as well is that there's a section that reads that this Recreation Advisory Committee or Commission will advise the council and the city manager. I know our charter speaks to the purpose of an advisory committee, and that is to advise council only. I didn't see anything in our charter regarding advising the city manager. So I wanted to bring that to your attention and ask you all to ask questions about that. The Arts Commission, same thing. I mean, it reads like a standing board to me. So I know our charter and the advisory committees, they're 2 years, as former Mayor Brown already stated, with the option of continuing for an additional year. So I would hope you ask questions, and if you don't get the answers tonight, table it. Thank you.
Are there other public comments on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the next section, which is approval of the consent calendar, which is approval of study session minutes December 16th, 2019, and approval of regular session minutes December 16th, 2019. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the study session minutes and regular session minutes for December 16th, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, they are approved. Okay, next item for individual discussion. Request approval of the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2019-11, An ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 4, to add Division 5, Sections 2280 through 2284, Recreation Advisory Commission, so Recreation Commission. May I have a motion to approve the second reading? And then we'll do the reading. Go ahead.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support? Okay. Moved and supported. Okay, I'll ask the city attorney to give us the overview.
So as you recall, this was, we had talked about this at our last meeting, last year. This creates the Recreation Advisory Commission. We made some modifications prior to the first reading last time, where we increased the total number of commission members to 7, and then re-staggered the terms so that it would now be the first set of terms would be 3 years followed, 1 year. Apologies. 2 shall be appointed for a term of 1 year, 2 for a term of 2 years, and 3 for a term of 3 years. So that kept the additional commission members staggered. Appointments are done in the same way as the other boards and commissions. The duties are listed under section 2-2A2. We've mandated that they have meetings at least 6 times a year. All the meetings are subject to the LMA. They create their own chair, vice chair, and secretary, and they are not compensated.
Okay. And this is intended to be a standing additional commission for the city.
This is a commission, not a committee.
Right. And the questions that were raised during public comment section about the authority to do that.
So, several municipalities other than Albion have similar commissions like this. The authority comes from the state's endowing municipalities to regulate for health, safety, and welfare, and given that it is not precluded by any other or occupied by any other state law, that allows municipalities to create commissions of this sort. For example, some municipalities have ethics commissions. There's no state law that specifically allows for that. It's kind of in the same vein where municipalities adopt certain ordinances where there is no state law. For example, there's no disorderly conduct fighting state statute. Many municipalities have a fighting ordinance. So things like that, but it's created under the general authority to regulate for health, safety, and in this case it would be general welfare.
Thank you. Questions, comments by council? Councilwoman Lawler.
Thank you. So I have a problem with number 1, to be an advisory commission to the city manager and city council. I do not agree with with this. Why are we calling it a commission anyway?
Because that's what we're creating, a commission.
So
Additional commission. Because this is not a short-term temporary committee, it is a commission. That's why we're calling it a commission.
you said this is a short term?
No, I said it is not a short-term advisory committee, it is a commission. We have a planning commission, we have other commissions. This will create a Parks and Recreation or a Recreation Commission.
Okay, and City Attorney, you said we have the right to form a commission?
Yeah, we're not the only municipality that has commissions that aren't specifically, I mean, there are certain statutes in Michigan that speak to specific commissions, like the Economic Development Commission, there's a statute for that. Elected Officials Compensation Commission, there's a statute for that. But there are certain things that are not specifically addressed by state law, but that doesn't preclude you from establishing them. In fact, this, a lot of the language from this particular commission comes from the city of East Lansing that has many, many commissions that are not specifically addressed by state law. City of Lansing also has those. This is done throughout the state. Not every municipality has them, but many of them do.
Okay, so like I was previously saying, I just don't think that a advisory commission should be advising a city manager. He or she has a person to advise them. And as far as the city council, to me, it's just what I think, that we advise our own city manager of when he brings stuff to us, we advise him yes or no, or, you know, tweak it a little bit or to our liking. But I just still disagree with having a commission to tell council or city manager what to do. That it just takes away from the job, to me, it takes away the job of the recreation director. To me, if you have this commission that you say we can create, why do we even need a recreation director?
Councilman Williamson.
If somebody can help me.
So I can speak a little bit to the idea of a recreation commission, or even I have better examples for the Arts Commission. This is a great way for the city council to expand its reach to more citizens and to have more input and more inclusive government of all people in the community. So having a commission of people representative around the community to support, who would actually be supportive of the recreation director's programming and provide an opportunity to bring more resources to the community. For example, through grant making and local partnership with other entities. For example, if there's a recreation organization, I'll use an example, Playworks is an organization that works on playgrounds and helps people bring different types of synergies to their communities through recreation. And so the Recreation Advisory Commission is a great way for us to have other people involved in the policy-making process, bringing good things to the community. I'll bring up a more specific example in the Arts Commission category. I have a lot more experience there. But I think this is a way for, when we talk about open government, inclusive government, the more people we have at the table to talk about how do we improve programming, how do we provide better supports for our youth and our older adults who need recreation activities. I think this is just a great way to include more people in that process and make sure that it does remain representative of the entire community. I think it serves as a support to, not a kind of no, you can't do that type of thing. It's a support to local government. The other piece again is just being able to partner in the community and be able to provide resources to people who are doing recreation programming that is already here. So I'm really in support of this one, and especially the arts one as well. The more people involved, the better, I think. Thank you.
City Attorney.
So the one thing I wanted to add, there were questions about why the manager was included in there. Originally, the manager wasn't included in there. Mr. McCleary specifically requested to be added to being part of the being advised. So,
Councilwoman Lawler.
Thank you. You said that this is a great way to get other community members involved in what the city is doing. So with that being said, as I have stated once before, I think that these committees or commissions or whatever you want to call them, each person from a precinct should have representation, not just a whole set of group over here and a whole. It should be everybody, somebody from 6 precincts should be on these committees, commissions, whatever you want to call them, so that there is input from the people that do live here. They can have input also. So that is my take on it, and if I can add it somewhere.
Well, City Attorney.
if you recall, last council meeting, before we did the first reading, we added the language to Section A that says The Recreation Advisory Commission shall consist of 7 members who shall be residents of the city, and an effort shall be made for the membership to reflect all precincts of the city.
And I would add that our planning commission, housing commission, and other boards, commissions, we make an effort to have folks across the city from various precincts sit on those. And I assume my successors will do the same if this becomes a standing commission. Call it a commission because that's what it is. That's my intent. But I also understand that at times we have opportunities to find people with unique skill sets, things that they bring to the city, that we would have to pass on if they don't live in the right precinct. And then we also are faced with a lot of obstacles of getting people from every precinct that pass the vetting. No back taxes, no fees and things. So it's my intent to do that, and I would hope that my successors would do the same, but I would not want to prohibit staffing the commission because we couldn't find somebody from, doesn't matter, precinct 2, precinct whatever, that was interested, that was capable, and fills out the application and is found to be meeting all the requirements. So you did put that forward as a motion last council meeting, and it was not approved, and the language that's in there was approved. So having commissions that encourage but don't require residency is normal, and we do make an effort in the appointment process to, I always think it's great to have people in Albion that are residents of Albion on the commissions. But sometimes you have a hard time finding people, and you may have an opportunity to include somebody with unique skill sets. So flexibility is important. Councilwoman Lawler.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with you that flexibility is important. I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Williamson about skill sets, but who is a better person to say in their precinct? And I'm speaking from my precinct. I know a lot of skilled people in my precinct. So why would I not be able to? Why can we not just find somebody in our precincts? Because we should be out there and we should know our people, and we should know that what kind of skills that they do have. One example that I can give, one positive example that I can give is the grocery store. When we made the committee for the grocery store, it had people from each precinct, and it did very, very well. And each precinct brought somebody to the table with a skill. So it just, that's just my take on it.
Any other comments from council? Okay. It's been moved and supported to approve the Recreation Commission ordinance. Would you please read the roll?
Councilmember Clark,
I'm really not sure about everything right now, so I don't know how to vote, because I'm being brought up to snuff, honestly. I don't have a vote. I don't.
So I asked the city attorney, is that an option not to vote?
So I would,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
would want to table this until I can understand what's going on a little bit better. Because I really don't understand, because we seem to be creating a whole lot of different committees, commissions, and boards, and adding people here and there, and I don't quite understand why we need all of this at one time, especially if we're saying in the same voice, where it's saying to get the right people in the right place. Sometimes it's hard, but then we're still creating a whole lot of different things. So I would like to do a little bit more research and understand what's going on. I would move to table.
So we've had a motion, and it's been supported to vote on this, and I asked the city clerk to call the roll. What's the procedural answer, city attorney? Do we
Well, in
proceed
terms-
with that, or does Councilwoman Clark have the option of calling to table it?
I don't think you can, I think once the vote, I don't think you can make a separate motion in the midst of a vote.
Okay.
Is my opinion. But to answer the first question, in order to abstain, the rest of the council, because it's not a financial conflict of interest question, the rest of the council would have to excuse Councilwoman Clark on that particular issue.
Please be silent. Okay. So then we need to take a vote and see if, does that require unanimous consent from council?
As
the
it
other
relates to
members?
Well, I don't, but, so there's two issues here. So one, if Councilwoman Clark is saying that she wants to be excused from the vote because she doesn't have
A quick
information,
understanding.
then they would require a consensus of the remaining members of council to excuse her from the vote, because it's not a financial conflict of interest question. The charter says you're gonna abstain from a vote, their balance of council has to excuse her.
Okay.
Point of information, actually, I do want to ask a question, just Colin, I'm needing your help here, because this is one of those parliamentary procedure tricks that is not my favorite. So the mayor started to call the roll. We had, like, they had said the name. There is a parliamentary way to pull that back from voting. And I think that the mayor and others on council would agree that it would be smart to allow Councilwoman Clark to be able to air her grievances before we all make a decision. So I just want to know, what is the trick at this point to be able to pull it back into discussion? I think that's fair.
Why don't we just make this really simple, and if you want to address the table motion, address the table motion.
So that we did call for a vote, as I'm just asking procedurally.
And I'm gonna find that for you.
Thank you.
I don't have it at my,
Sorry.
all right. Sorry, bear with me. I think if Councilwoman Clark is going to ask that it be tabled, that should be addressed before you do the vote.
Okay, so even though we started to have a vote, we can do that.
Yes.
Okay. So, Councilwoman Clark, would you state your motion?
I move that we table the discussion for the commissions, or whatever we're calling it, until I can get a clearer understanding. Then the next meeting, we can bring it back on our agenda and talk about it from
Is
there.
there support?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved to support. Any discussion? Okay, other than, we're calling it a commission because that's what it is. So it's been moved and supported to table the vote on the ordinance for the Recreation Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will table that. Next item is the discussion Approval first reading of ordinance 2020-01, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 4, to add Division 6, Section 2, 320 through 2, 327 Arts Commission. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, discussion. City Attorney, would you walk us through that, please?
Sure. So this is a new one that was put together. The membership consists of 5 members, all residents. They're 3-year terms, except the first set of appointments, it's 1 year, 2 of the members for 2 years, and then 2 for 3 years to make sure that terms stay staggered. Appointments are done the same way as the other commissions in the city. The duties are outlined under section 2-322. Largely, it's advising the city on matters relating to arts programs, promoting arts and culture in the community, implementing a public art program, fundraising and grant applications to support arts and culture, so on and so forth. Meetings are to be held at least 6 times a year annually. They're all subject to the Open Meetings Act. Let's see here. They have a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary just like every other commission. They are not compensated. It establishes a public art fund to which an amount determined by council would be allocated. That would be something that council would have to address when they deal with the budget each year. Procedures for expenditures for works of art, and it limits it to certain things, and is very specific about what it can be used for and cannot be used for. Many other communities have arts commissions, City of Jackson, City of East Lansing, City of Traverse City. So this is something that's pretty prevalent throughout the state.
Comments or questions by council? Councilwoman Lawler.
Thank you. Sorry. On section 227, A, part E, it says that public art funds mean those monies appropriated by city council pursuant to this division, plus any other funds received by the city specifically designated to be used for the purpose of public art. So we have a public art fund?
No, this ordinance would in part create it.
Councilman Smith.
You explain in part.
I'm sorry?
Part created.
Say that, I'm sorry, I don't, in part.
Your comment was just that this would in part create the funds.
Oh, yeah, so that's part of what the ordinance does, is it doesn't create, I'm sorry, it doesn't create the funds, it creates the fund. So it directs the city to create a new fund, like a new line item in our budget, to which the city would allocate money and or a fund that grants or donations or things of that nature would be deposited.
And the fundraising is part of the responsibilities of the commission. Councilman Williamson, did you have a?
No.
Oh, okay. Councilwoman Clark.
So, because these are, will be funded by grants, do we have a more proficient person that can write grants at this time?
So in answer to that, I believe it will be one of the skill sets that we'll look for when we staff the commission.
Because we talked about, I know when I first came on board, we talked about looking at getting a grant writer and getting somebody in place for these types of things, but we're moving forward to do things and we haven't put somebody in place to be able to do things. I myself am a type of person is, I like to create a plan, but I also like to create the plan. I don't like to put the plan in place and don't have things in line items in place to take care of the plan that I'm proposing or trying to put it forward. So that's just my feeling on it.
Well, as I stated, that would be one of the skill sets that we'd look for, who to put on the commission. Councilman Williamson.
So my thought on this is I am in 100% agreement with Councilwoman Clark about the city having someone with the skill set to write grants for a whole host of things. It is not unusual for even the city of Albion to have had people in positions within the city who have grant writing as a skill. In fact, 2 city managers back, we had an incredible grant writer. We had a former assistant city manager who's a grant writer. Our current assistant city manager is pretty proficient in grant writing as well, as far as I am aware. What I think the importance of for this particular commission is establishing a group of people who are going to focus on bringing more resources to the community to do more things. So one of the things when this first came up was, there are other communities who are really finding economic wins in the arts. For example, Jackson, a neighboring community, does that the Bright Walls project. Grand Rapids has they're kind of like the creme de la creme of arts programming that's really revitalized their community in part. And so what we're trying to do is create the space for economic activity to happen through the arts. So whether that's public art, someone who gets a grant to do actual public mural downtown, whether that's partnering with a local arts organization, for example, the recreational theater group, the local Act 2 theater company that just kind of restarted. We have a lot of local artists and Ken Shenstone, Michael Dixon. We have an entire art department at our local liberal arts institution. So what this would do is this would bring the community together to talk about where can we improve our community and create more opportunities for more visible public art and installations, more opportunities to participate in the arts in kind of a physical and acting through the poetry and acting and things like that. But it's not. I don't think this commission is anywhere taking the place of writing grants for the city for different things. I think that that's something that this commission would be in partnership with whoever, however Mr. McCreary gets his administration in order, they would work with him. And also be a support for bringing arts organizations to the city in partnership. That way we kind of build that bigger network of people in our community to create art, which we all agree. I mean, I think all of us have different views of what's beautiful and what's artistic. Al said he doesn't really like the comic book look of some of the stuff that happens downtown at one of our meetings. I happen to think it's kind of fun, but it would be great to have a commission made up of citizens around the community that help kind of guide that and keep it at a responsible discussion level. That way we have art that is pleasing to the majority of residents and programming that's inclusive of all. So in general, I have a feeling this is probably going to get tabled until the next meeting for more people to get more information, but in general, I'm 100% on board with establishing our commission and bringing more people into the fold.
And for those that are questioning about grants and do we have somebody to do that, if you look on page 2 of the draft ordinance under duties, section 2, 322, 4, the commission shall also be responsible for fundraising and preparation of grant applications to support the arts and culture in the city. So I don't believe we're putting the cart before the horse. I think we're building it into the ordinance and the intention of the commission. Other comments by council? Councilwoman Lawler.
Is there anywhere that says, how will the people know that, where to try to sign up for these commissions that's being put together? Is that anywhere in these ordinances, or?
Well, if and when the ordinance is passed and the commissions are created, they will be treated as the other commissions at the city, boards and commissions, and it's posted on the city's website with the requirements, with the number of board members or commissioners, and the city's standard applications. So yes, it is available that people that wish to apply can get the application to sit on the Art Commission or the Recreation Commission, submit that, and go through the process. So yes. Other comments or questions? Okay, so the motion before us is to approve the first reading of the ordinance. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay,
I would like to table this one also. I know you said you don't feel like it is, but I'd like to talk about it a little bit further. Again, I made my statement about, I think we need to, the only reason why, let me say it like this. The only reason why I say that is because I remember when I first came on, there was a grant that was for Marcola and my district, and the money was there, and then all of a sudden the money wasn't there. And then the grant didn't get forwarded for this year. For the, it was for the seniors or people with low income that needed to have repairs done to their homes. So it was, one point the money was there and then it wasn't. And nobody was able to access the money or get anything done. And then when I asked about that situation, I was told that we were waiting for a new city manager to be put in place, and if he so chose to apply for the grant, then it would happen, and it has not happened. So I think there's importance in getting somebody in place that's gonna write grants. That's just how I feel. Because you can't tell people that they can have stuff or they're gonna do stuff or things gonna be available, and then it goes away. It doesn't put a good taste in people's mouths when you tell them that you're going to help them and then you take stuff away. And then if we move forward into doing things like this, which I think is a perfectly good project to do, I just would like to see that we definitely have somebody that will know what they're doing and being able to write these type of grants and do these type of things. So when we put any other proposals or any other commissions up, that we'll have somebody that will be able to put those things in place and get it, make sure it happens, and we don't look like we didn't know what we were doing.
Okay, so you want to direct the city manager to hire a grant writer?
I asked for that when I first came on.
Yeah, but I'm asking, do you want the council to direct the city manager to do that? Just making sure I understand.
I made a suggestion that we look at getting a grant writer. If you don't think that it's necessary that we have one, then how are you gonna get grants wrote?
No, I think it would be great to have a grant writer, but he or she would report to the city manager, and he controls staffing. City attorney.
But just to be clear, I mean, there's a motion to table, really, there hasn't been a second, there really shouldn't be, there needs to be a second before you can.
So the motion is to table on this ordinance, which is the Arts Commission. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. It's been moved and second to table it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, item C, establish work group for sidewalks. And at the last council meeting, we agreed that each council member would identify somebody to represent their precinct. Would the council members please provide your representatives, and we'll go around. We'll start with precinct 1.
I've made contact with the person, or actually a couple different persons I thought would be a good choice, and I'm waiting for them to get back in touch with me.
Okay?
Okay.
Betty
Count.
Branch.
Okay.
Betty Branch.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Harry Bonner Senior.
Okay. Mark Kohler? Councilwoman Lawler?
Yeah. I have asked 2 people in my precinct, and they have not gotten back with me yet. So by the next meeting, I am sure that I will be able to provide the information.
Okay. And Councilman Williamson?
Andrew French.
Andy French. Okay. And I'm identifying Stacy Stewart as the 7th. Okay. got all those names right? Okay. Okay. Item D, request approval to apply for a grant with the state of Michigan for an absentee voting, what does ABCB stand for? Absentee Voter Counting Board Tabulator. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there discussion? Okay. And we're applying for a grant for $5,500, is that right?
Well, the total cost is about $5,500. The state will pay 50%
Okay.
of whatever the cost of the
All right.
tabulating.
Okay. Councilwoman Lawler.
Thank you. Are we responsible for the other 50?
I budgeted that, I budgeted the full amount, but knowing that we were hopefully gonna be able to apply for it.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay. Request approval, renewal of medical marijuana licenses for grower license for Michael Moore. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Your support?
Support.
Okay. Discussion. Councilman Smith.
Is there a representative for Mr. Moore here this evening?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hard to ask questions.
Any further comments? Any concerns? City Attorney.
So one, I would just remind council that all of these applications that you're gonna discuss tonight need to be turned back in before you leave. This is, for this particular applicant, this is one of two applications. The applications have all been reviewed by all the departments in my office. Has cleared planning commission, and so it meets all of the city's requirements.
Okay. There's no further comments. Would you please read the roll?
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed, Smith,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay, next item, request approval, renewal of medical marijuana processor license for Michael Moore. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Any discussion? City Attorney.
Same thing, this one has cleared all the departments and my office, it's also cleared planning commission, it appears to meet all the requirements. What I would add, and this applies to both of them, it's my understanding this particular entity is currently in negotiations to sell their facility to I believe it's a large conglomerate in Canada. However, if that goes through, they would have to come back and go through the application process again. So, just an FYI.
Licenses do not transfer.
Correct. We don't transfer licenses without basically repeating the application process.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Would you read the roll, please?
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed, Smith,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay, item G, request approval of the renewal of medical marijuana provisioning license for Pincana. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, discussion. Councilman Smith.
Number one, on the copies that we have in front of us, in the upper right-hand corner, it says renewal and extension. What is extension?
City Attorney.
So our ordinance for these facilities provides that under certain circumstances, they can request an extension, basically an extension of their license, if they haven't acquired their state operating license. In this particular case, it's my understanding that while they requested that, they technically went ahead and did the full renewal application. So while it says extension, they effectively did the complete renewal application. But that's what that refers to, because initially they were seeking an extension, and given their position in terms of time and everything, you said you may as well just do a renewal application, so.
Councilman Smith?
Have they got their state license?
Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Steve Shaper. I'm with Pinkana. Yes, we have received our state license, and we're preparing to start construction. We've had a couple of meetings at the city, and you should be seeing our building permits for the complete renovation, redoing of that building here within the next couple of months at most. And then we'll start construction, and then we'll open during this calendar year for business. We also have a little bit about our company is we have 185 acres that we've purchased up in Pinconning, Michigan, which is a very agricultural area, and we're building a brand new state-of-the-art cultivation and processing facility that will supply the locations that we're developing throughout the state. So we look forward to doing business and doing some nice things in the community as well.
Thank you. Further comments or questions by council? Councilman Smith?
One last one. I have been speaking with a number of the residents of my precinct, as many as I could talk with. I ran on the platform that I would represent the will of the precinct, and that is how I will vote this evening.
Okay. Other comments? Please read the roll.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Lawler,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay, next item. Request approval, renewal of medical marijuana provisioning license for Greenhouse Farms. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay. Discussion, comments or questions by council? City Attorney.
This is our, the last one of these licenses we had for this evening. Once again, they've cleared all the departments, they've cleared my office, they've cleared Planning Commission. This particular facility, if I'm not mistaken, the clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the provisioning center license, but I believe they also hold, I think, at least 5 licenses for grows and I think 1 for processing. So this is one that's this is just one of their 7 or 8 licenses.
I'm not sure if I have that one. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. All right, any other comments by council? Please read the roll.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Lawler,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay, next item. Request approval of boards and commission appointments. First is Ms. Lori Renee Cohen, initial appointment to the Albion District Library, term to expire 12/31/2023. And Mr. Robert Anderson, initial appointment Downtown Development Authority, term to expire 12/31/2023. And Mr. Anderson will be filling the vacancy from Ms. Linda Lanou, and Ms. Cohen will be filling the vacancy from Dr. Jess Roberts, who declined to serve another term. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the 2 appointments?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Questions? Comments? Councilwoman Lawler.
Can we approve them individually?
We can. Okay. The motion before us is to approve the appointments, so if you want to make a modification.
Would you repeat that, please?
Okay, so the motion that's been moved and seconded was to approve the two appointments, I believe. And Councilman Lawler is asking to modify that. You consider that a friendly amendment to your motion, to hold two votes rather than one?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
She was, her bracelet kept rubbing. I
Oh.
couldn't hear. That's why I said, would you repeat? But we got
Okay.
it right.
All right. Okay. If there's no opposition to do that, that's what we'll do. All right. First appointment is Lori Cohn, initial appointment, Albion District Library. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Second appointment, Mr. Anderson, Robert Anderson, initial appointment, Downtown Development Authority, term to expire 12/31/2023. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Both of those are approved. Next, future agenda items. Council members have future agenda items or the city attorney. Councilman Williamson.
So before we got into the holiday season, I brought up the idea of modifying our city ordinances around outdoor cafe seating and serving, et cetera. And I just wanted to, I know Darwin's not here, Mr. McCleary's not here, but I'd like to get an update on like where we are at and picking out how we can fix those. That way we can allow for outdoor serving and street side eating and different activities that happen outside downtown businesses. So I'd like to bring that back up for discussion.
Councilman Smith?
Pardon me. Yes, I'd like to resume discussions on the fee schedule.
Okay. Other council members have, city attorney?
With Councilman Williamson's discussion on outdoor sidewalks, I think what I would suggest is, why don't we take the current ordinance and we'll put it in the packet for the next meeting so that we can have a discussion about what, if anything, the council wants to modify rather than trying to craft something and guess what you want and then come back and.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
I
I just think that would probably be a more practical way to.
Sounds reasonable. Okay. Other council members have items they want on the next agenda, next one or two agendas? Okay, we will put back on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Reed.
I'd like for us to think about a time when we can have a town hall meeting. So I think it would be nice to start off the year like that, so we can let everyone know what our plans are for at least the next 6 months, or a year, or something, and maybe each council person.
I think on the next agenda, we'll have a discussion on 2020 goals for the city. And we'll set a date for a town hall meeting in the near future. Okay. Did you have anything else? Councilwoman Clark, did you have items? No. Okay. We'll put the ordinances back on in addition to the one that Councilman Williamson brought up. So I'd ask that all members of council familiarize yourself with the ordinances and ask whatever questions so we can take action on that. Let's see what else. That'll do for now. Okay. Next item, public comments. Persons addressing city council shall limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes. Proper decorum. Please do not impugn the integrity, the motivation, or the character of city employees, council members, or other members of the public.
Again, Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. A couple of things. So the charter does have that general powers thing at the beginning. That's kind of what Attorney Harkness was talking about, but I guess I just, and maybe one of the council members can volunteer to get that information, but I still would like to know what the difference is in the nomenclature, the naming between a committee, commission, a board, or authority going forward. And then I want to thank the council for postponing those two commissions, because one of the things that, and when I read through it, I didn't get that sense, but sometimes you have mission creep when you create things. So you start off with a mission here, and it kind of wanders to another agenda. And I know there were discussions about the future of the recreation department and who would lead that and what that would look like. So I just want to make sure when the council does kind of look through that, like Councilmember Clark was saying, that that's really firm, that that's not like a oversight board, people to kind of tell the recreation department how to run, or force anyone out or any of that. And then with the Art Commission, I was reading that because there was like sections at the end about funding, and it seemed to me, just making sure that everyone's on the same page, the funds, so public dollars could be spent to pay for public art, but would have to be on public property, right? So we're talking about parks or rights of way or things like that the city owns, not, for example, I know, for example, there's an effort right now with citizens to redo the Coca-Cola sign. That's not something that could fall under this, because that's not a public thing. So I think that's something that would have to be clarified, that the sites we're talking about are very specific. And then also, two last things. The last time that the citizens of Albion had a vote on a marijuana-related topic was in 2008, and in Precinct 3, there were 334 yes votes and 139 no votes. So that was for recreational marijuana, which is even beyond just the medical use, and citizens in all precincts pretty much overwhelmingly supported that. So I would take issue with the idea that citizens in Precinct 3, which includes me, do not support legal, lawful marijuana use. And then finally, in the last 18 seconds, there was an article in MLive, I want to say maybe it was I can't remember which paper it was, but it was on the MLive site about census data recently released about poverty, and Albion ranked, I want to say, number 41 or 42, and I think that's something that we really need to discuss, and that really needs to have a committee behind that, because that's a major issue for the future of our city. Thank you all so much.
Any other public comments this evening?
Sonia Brown, 713 Orchard Drive. The point that former Mayor Brown was making before the time cutoff, I just want to drive that home. Albion was 42 on the list from the census data as far as poverty. And I saw the agenda tonight, and we're creating boards and commissions / committees or whatever to address recreation and to address arts, and we have a sidewalk work group, but I think there needs to be some intentional attention paid to the poverty issue in this community. I was walking in and hearing the names being thrown out for the sidewalk work group, and what I heard pretty much was the same people who are always appointed to represent the community. So I would hope that beyond Mr. Bonner, Betty Branch, Andy French, you dare to explore people who are normally not given a seat at the table. I also will thank former Mayor Brown for making that point. I hosted a meeting in Precinct 3 in 2016 on medical marijuana, and the residents who attended that meeting overwhelmingly supported it. So I just, wanted to say that. Also, as far as the committee, commission, whatever, boards that were tabled tonight, hopefully the council members, in particular Councilmember Clark, who said she needed more information and wanted to do more research, I commend you for that, because in reading it, I was confused. So hopefully you can get the clarity you're looking for, and residents like myself can get the clarity on on what exactly it is. And again, I would hope that you would all focus on the poverty in this community. And if you're going to create a board committee, that you would definitely consider one to address that concern. Thank you.
Are there other public comments this evening?
Something positive. Juanita Solis Kidder, 1211 Edward Street. I just want to speak to our fundraising event that's coming up February 16th, Men Who Cook, and it's held at the First Baptist Church. It's our main fundraiser for collecting money that we put back into the community in form of the flowers, the benches, the planters, and all the other work that's done by volunteers. So the tickets are $8, and February 16th from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. We're looking for men to cook, and people to eat. So you can't say no to either one, because you fit in one of those things. So, thank you.
Some of us in both categories. Okay. Any other public comments this evening? Okay. Our county commissioner for the 7th District.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Finance Director Mead, kind of throw me a curveball there, had to make sure. Clerk Domingo, residents of City Albion, and those folks watching this evening, good evening. Gary Tompkins, Yorktown County Commissioner. Well, first let me say Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a great holiday, certainly with their families and whatnot. It's hard to believe we're in 2020, but here we are, ready to roaring to go, correct? Just a couple of things. I'll be brief. First of all, I will say, Men Who Cook, count me in. You can sign me up tonight. I'll be there to do my normal. I always enjoy that event. It's always great for a great cause. So, first and foremost, from the Treasurer's Office. If you know somebody who's having trouble with paying their property taxes, specifically delinquent property taxes, the County Treasurer's Office may be able to help with a potential hardship extension for those folks that may be have some issues. You can call the Treasurer's Office at 269-781-0807. Get a hold of them. They will do everything they can to try to keep people in their homes. I can tell you from firsthand experience in working with them, they really go out of their way to try to do the best they can to make sure that people do stay in their homes. So if you do know somebody that's having issues, give them a call. Applications for that hardship extension, are due February 14th. So if you certainly have anybody you know, please have them contact the Treasurer's Office relatively soon.
February what?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
February
14th is the deadline. Yes, ma'am. Yep, February 14th is the deadline. And then from the Calhoun County Health Department this evening, January is National Radon Action Month, and in observance, Calhoun County Health Department is giving away free short-term test kits to the public for the duration of January. These free kits are used to check for the unseen and often misunderstood health risk of radon gas, which may be in your home. This free short-term radon testing kits are available through the Calhoun County Health Department. During the month of January, free shipping to the laboratory is also included. With the kit, the results will be mailed back to your home once the processing is completed. And if you're interested for more information, you can certainly contact the Calhoun County Health Department, specifically for here in the residents of the City of Albion, here at the Albion office, 517-629-9434. For those of you who may not know, it's located on 214 East Michigan Avenue. So if you have the opportunity, it's free. Certainly take advantage of that and see if your home is either radon-free or may have some issues. And hopefully from that vantage point, if it is an issue, we can take care of it. So just some good information there. Also, too, my newsletter. For those of you that don't get it, certainly, by email, if you're interested, email me. It's a great resource to know what's going on around the 7th District. I think transparency is paramount in government, and I firmly believe that to no end. You can certainly see that in my newsletter every month. Hard copies are also available at the Albion District Library as well, and as various township halls and et cetera throughout the town, throughout the district as well. On page 4, I summarized the 2020 Calhoun County the general fund budget for 2020, which includes a breakdown of expenditures, so you can see where the money's going, what are the big areas. Obviously, we know public safety is a very large area, certainly in Calhoun County. So just take a look at that. There's other pertinent information. Our millage still has remained the same at 5.3779 mills. This is now the 14th year it's stayed the same, so we haven't changed it since at least 2006, so that's a good thing. Really trying to do the best we can to utilize the money we have, and which is a good thing. Also on page 5 and 6, one of my favorite topics is certainly the roads, as most of you know. On 5 and 6, I focus on what's going on Lansing in terms of what the governor's done, as well as the bills that have been submitted by the House and the Senate. Just take a look at that page 5 and 6, and I've got them all listed, House bills, Senate bills that are listed on there. And just take a look and see for yourself to see if any of those bills really solve the problems that we have. You know, I've certainly been advocating for pretty radical change in terms, what I feel is a proper, positive change. You know, we've got tolling studies. We've got counties with the ability to pass gas taxes. Lots of interesting stuff, but nothing to really address the problem that really exists. As I indicated to you before, Senator Lucido from the east side of the state has been hot on this topic as well. And again, I've told you before, he goes in the exact opposite direction. He thinks the metro areas are the ones that are getting the shaft, if you will. I wish he would come out and drive down some of our streets and roads and see what the real deal is. But I've talked about ballot issues. I saw him on WKAR. He was on he was on their off the record program, and he's an interesting character, let me tell you. But take advantage. He's serious about it, and I think at some point we've got to have a hardcore discussion. I just read an article as I got here that they're willing to take up the issue back in Lansing again. But again, we know if this is all you've got, we can do much better than that. And all I'm asking for, and I'll continue to ask for it again, and I'll continue for your help and assistance, is to call them and let me have an opportunity to sit down and have a discussion with them. That's all I'm asking for. So we're putting the pressure on, and I have heard some results back. I've heard some people, one in particular, our senator, kind of started asking some questions like, what is this all about, and what are we doing? And I'm hearing all these things. So it's good. I appreciate all of you guys' help and your participation in that, because we just need to make sure that our roads and streets are good, because that's what we deserve, and it's time for that to happen. So with that being said, I look forward to working with each and every one of you on a great 2020 as we move forward through this year. And whatever I can do to help, please never hesitate to give me a call. I'm always here to see what I can do for you. All right? Thank you very much. You guys have a great evening, all right?
Thank you. Mr. Mead, do you have a city manager's report this evening?
I do not.
Okay. All right, mayor and council members' comments. Council members have comments for this evening. Councilwoman Lawler.
Thank you. I just want to read something that I got an email today. And it says that, let me get it. The sidewalk is really bad on the 300 block of East Pine, especially in two spots on the north side of the street. 2 different little girls have crashed their bikes and hurt themselves recently. Many people have got their baby carriages stuck, and it's unsafe. The little girl and they gave me the address, and another little girl, and they gave me the address. And it said they were injured, and it could have been very serious. So later on down in my email, it said, there's supposed to be a fund for sidewalks. This is the place to use it. My sidewalk is buckling and chunks are coming out of it. I also have no curb at the road. Please take a walk down it and you will see how hazardous it really is. I twisted my ankle on it last fall walking. It made me mad. So I just want to address the sidewalk fund. Why not use the sidewalk fund in the precincts? Because these people in the precinct have contributed to this fund. They want to see some type of development in their neighborhood. So as I stated last time that we talked about the sidewalk fund, and a lot of people in my precinct agree with me, because we talk on a regular basis, that it should be split 6 ways so that a project in each neighborhood, they will be satisfied with it. But that's just my opinion. I'm speaking for my precinct, and I hope that this sidewalk committee, work group, or whatever you want to call it, I hope that they take my email into consideration. Thank you.
Comments from other councilmen? Councilwoman Clark.
It's interesting to me that this is the year 2020, and because I concentrate on things a little differently than most people, and in the natural form, it's hindsight 2020, being able to see. and it means vision. So as we go into this year, that's something that I want the council to really focus on. If we're gonna make plans, if we're gonna make visions, then we need to stick to them and make sure that they happen. Because it's very important that we don't just, because we get people to volunteer or don't volunteer or whatever, we still have to do our parts in making things happen and creating a better place for Albion. So that's just what I have to say, and thank you for you guys being patient with me while I was gone, and I'm glad to be back. Yep.
Councilwoman Reed.
I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone in Albion, and I wanted to give a thank you to some of the businesses that donated door prizes to our employees' Christmas party, and that was Gina's, Pascarelli's, Bigby, Hungry Howie's, and the Marriott Courtyard gave a night stay for Eric Tobin. And so to two of those companies, thank you very much for participating in making our employees' party feel really nice.
Councilman Smith.
Yes, I would like to comment that I am holding the monthly meetings in Precinct 3. The next one will be on the 17th at 7 p.m. at the Peabody Apartments in their community room. That's on the corner of Eaton and Erie Streets. So, you know, please, anyone is invited, the whole city. So please, you know, come on out, and you know, I want to hear what everybody has to say. That's the reason I started this.
What was the date of that, sir?
That would be the 17th on a Friday evening. I'm getting a lot of flack for Friday evening, but that's the best time I can find. I would encourage those in the audience who have made comments about what's happening in the 3rd Precinct. Please let me have your emails so that I can put you on our email list and make sure that you are, you know, kept informed on what I'm doing and what the other people in the precinct are saying. You know, I would love to have you in the middle of it as part of the discussion. You know, if we can all discuss things together, we're not sniping at each other on the outside. I think that would be much better. And I will say that I am, as you are, appalled at the horrendous numbers for the poverty situation in Albion. And I do appreciate and I like your idea of let's put together a commission about the poverty in Albion. And I will ask both of you at that time, you know, if we can get you on that commission. I will be asking for your names at that time. And as far as the votings on the marijuana issues go, you'll notice that I only voted against the retail operations because the people who I have been able to talk with, that was what they were against, were the retail operations of selling marijuana within the city of Albion. So that was the only thing that I voted against. I voted what the precinct has been getting a hold of me. I voted what they told me to vote. I don't vote my conscience, I vote theirs. Thank you very much.
Okay. There was a comment about using under the draft Arts Commission ordinance, a question about expending public funds to put public art on private property. And so the language is already included in that. It's on page 5 of the draft ordinance, section 2, 325. A, the last sentence, no public art from public funding may be placed on private property. And as far as the same old people always being appointed, there were 4 names that were mentioned. 3 of those 4 are currently not serving on any commission, any board, any panel. So it's not all the same people all the time. Mr. Williamson.
I just want to add, so the winter months, especially December, January, and February, are some of the hardest months for local businesses here in the community, especially when we have such abbreviated breaks from college students who've gone home to their families who we call Albion their community when they're here for school. I just want to encourage everyone to go out and shop local, eat local, dine local, talk to your local business owners. There are many of them here who would love to have your business. It's just a really hard time of year for retail, just after the holidays and then before we start to ramp up for spring again. So just encouraging to support your friends and neighbors who own businesses in town and shop at their places.
Okay. There's no other comments by council members. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, County Commissioner, for always being here. And the public that took time to be here and make comments, appreciate that very much. Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, motion to excuse absent.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Motion to excuse absent council members. Councilmember Spicer.
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved and supported?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay,